I have tried what is probably the most expensive headphone amp in the world, priced at nearly 114,000 Singapore dollars, and here is how it went. Bit of a different format from my usual video, bear with me for a second, but if you're interested in anything studio, headphones, drumming, or music tech, do consider subscribing, really helps a lot. Welcome to Project Beats, my name is Joven. Just to preface this video, I am not an audiophile. I'd say maybe an audio enthusiast, but I'm more on the side of the pro studio. So if you're maybe looking for an audiophile POV, unfortunately, this is not that video. Also, just to note, I haven't had the chance to try both pairing together yet. I was able to try them separately on different occasions. So, bit of a story time. The Kurugaki headphones, I was able to try at the high-end Asia event. Of course, the event is geared towards high-end hi-fi speakers and headphones. I attended for a couple of reasons. I really wanted to try the Kurugaki headphones, of course. They had the ATH-5000, which was the previous flagship open back headphones from Audio-Technica as well. Also, the TAD monitors is also on display. If you know, you know. Another reason is for a future project I'm thinking of doing, which is DIY studio monitors. There are two drivers that was supposed to be there, but I wasn't able to find. Of course, if I'm building this high-end parts DIY monitors, I wanted to hear it in person. If you're curious, I'm talking about the Purify woofers and the Satori Beryllium tweeter. I think I saw their logos on the poster of the high-end Asia, but I wasn't able to see them on the floor. I might still continue that monitor build in the future, and I actually have a couple of designs that I already simulated, and on paper it looks killer, but we'll see. That project needs a lot of time and hard work, which at the moment I don't have. If some of y'all want to sponsor that project, hit me up. But yeah, since I'm there, I went around. The highlight for me, apart from the ones I'm familiar with, was the Wilson Audio Sabrina 5, or was it V? This relatively small speaker setup sounds really big and really wide for its size. Priced around 28,000 USD for the pair, which, to be honest, based on my impressions, I think it's fair for that outstanding performance. It sounds super detailed, reverb tails, you can almost visualize it, punchy and fast transients, neutral presentation, just an overall super impressive impression so far. Most fascinating one I see, apart from those horn speakers, was this tower of ribbon tweeter and woofer from top to bottom. To be honest, that was a bit much. The highs on that ribbon tower went past my eardrum and straight to my brain. Kind of hurts my head. And then, of course, you have a bunch of horn speakers and other really impressive speakers on display. But that Sabrina 5 was really the highlight for me. So back to the ones that I actually went for, the TAD monitors or TAD monitors. I'm not sure. I expected to perform well, at least on paper. This was my first time hearing it in person. Also another Japanese masterpiece that actually supplies drivers for huge main monitor builds for pro studios. So yeah, of course, I expect high level of detail and balance, neutral tonality, which is what I got first time listening to it. To be honest, it doesn't sound like an audiophile type, more on that reference monitor type, at least for me. Maybe I'm just noticing it now, but I feel like there is a movement where people outside the pro studio are looking more for that neutral and detailed sound presentation, moving away from that, sounds good but colored or a bit of a V-shaped tuning. So yeah, I'd say it's good to keep an eye out and maybe open mind on what's out there. But yeah, TAD delivered. I really like it. Expensive, of course, but yeah, really good reference level speakers. In terms of price and size, I'd probably still go for the Key 7, but both are in the same level, same stratosphere when it comes to detail and response, neutral presentation, really, really high end. So for the Audio-Technica booth, who kindly sponsored my ticket to this event, big ups to Audio-Technica SEA. Let me quickly go over the few things they had on display. First is this sort of levitating record player, which they had on an enclosed box. I think it's really interesting. It looks really cool, but it would have been more cool if we're actually able to see it working. That one is called the Hotaru, which is about 13,000 Singapore dollars, if I'm not wrong. Then they had their high-end lineup of cartridges, which really, again, I have zero idea what the differences are. When I start my record collection, then we'll go there eventually. Also, they have their latest release, which is this transparent record player made of acrylic. It has external power supply and control unit. For those of you who know, that external box is an important part of the design. I mean, it looks really cool. To me, that tone arm made of carbon fiber comes with one of their fancy cartridges is like the best part design-wise. So yeah, back to the main thing that we came here for, which was the headphones, of course. They have the ATX-3000, ATX-5000, and the Kurugaki on display. Of course, audiophile headphone in terms of like general presentation, and it really shows. But for my own preference, I would go for the 5000. My buddy Lawrence, who was with me on this event, he really liked the ATX-3000. I guess price to performance, he finds that it has what he's looking for in a play and work type of headphones. It does easy listening or music enjoyment really well, and has critical listening chops as well. So, you also have that bit of mixing and mastering chops. Very capable headphones, of course, which I agree. But if I'm honest, the ADX 5000, that takes the win for me. Not just because it's more expensive, but because it has more of the characters I look for in a headphone. In the same sense of like work and play duties. I don't really go for audiophile-centric gear. I mean, these headphones are, but I think the ADX 5000 would work well in a studio setting. It is a little bit smooth on the upper mids, similar to the LCDX, but a tiny bit more forward on the upper mids compared to the LCDX, and more open up top, which I really like for studio use. Low end has really good energy to it. I'd say ever so slightly less neutral on the low end to upper mids compared to the LCDX. Although again, take into account these types of venues aren't the best really for understanding these types of headphones. You don't really appreciate it fully. But yeah, I feel like it's really close to the LCDX performance-wise. It is better on some regard. Again, it's more forward on the upper mids and more open up top. And for mixed use, I think it's essential. But overall presentation is really balanced. Nothing hyped. I think they're aiming for that neutral and a bit of clinical presentation. The LCDX gets the slight edge on the low-end neutrality. Then the ADX 5000 takes the win for me from the upper mids all the way up the range. Retail price is about 2,730 Singapore dollars. If I could spend a bit more time with it and really compare it and confirm that it's better than the LCDX, I would personally consider switching. Now, if I'm not wrong, the Kurugaki is a limited edition headphone priced at 5,000 Singapore dollars. Of course, being handmade in Japan with limited parts. I heard the wood used for this is hard to come by, which is the black persimmon wood. Also, they implemented new technology for this headphone, some proprietary connectors, if I'm not wrong, with high-end parts and all that. All of these things can add up to why it costs that much. Just that handmade in Japan puts a higher price tag, of course. But anyway, the newer release of the Kurugaki comes with plush ZMF ear pads. I read somewhere that there were some leak issues before, so this is a nice, probably critical upgrade, which if you order today would be already included. As far as my listening experience, of course, it's really good. Again, venue wasn't the best experience because at that time the TAD speakers behind me were playing, so really not the best experience I had with it, if I'm honest. But still, I get that high-end, sound impression. Of course, it falls on that audiophile side still. But of course, it has some good detail retrieval. Low end is tight. I wouldn't say bloated, but it has some good energy there. There was some smoothness on the mids. Not as forward as how I like to listen for the mids specifically, around 3-5K. It was fast though. Transient attacks were really good, as you'd expect from a high-end headphones. I think Caldera Closed performs a bit better on the critical listening front. That one is maybe a tiny bit better on detail retrieval, if I remember it right. But the Kurugaki is more smooth and more, for lack of better word, floaty feeling, similar to DCA sound, like the Noir X or the E3. Not too high on that critical listening front. I still prefer the presentation and detail on the Kurugaki versus the DCAE3. I just really don't like how it feels like floating. I don't know how to explain it correctly, but you can't really grab onto details on the DCAE3, at least for me. Everything feels like further away, if that makes sense. Again, different heads, of course, different impressions. But to me, the Kurugaki is still more tangible in comparison. I'm talking about, detail retrieval and things that I need to be present. Again, it will sound different on different heads. And of course, preferences will come into play. I think Canary Closed is the closest that I can think of performance-wise. But yeah, easily I could say top 3 close back that I tried. I'm wondering how it will sound with the Narukami amp, which was originally designed to be paired together. I feel it would open up more, give a better detailed presentation, and overall just level it up. Hopefully I can try that next time. Now jumping to another time I visited Audio-Technica HQ when I tried the Narukami Tube amp. I feel like this video is getting too long, so let me cut to the chase. I've got my Audio-2 with me at that time. Of course, I also have my LCDX. I listened and went over quickly my reference 2 or 3 tracks. One of the songs that I'm pretty familiar with that I know is mixed warm on the Snarky Puppy Empire Central album. So I played them through the Hugo 2 first, try to remember my baseline reference. Also remember that the LCDX is known for its lush, low-end and slam detail, but sometimes it's a bit too lush on the low end, and sometimes I want to pull that back a bit. But anyway, I moved to the Narukami sale. Here's my thoughts back then at that time of listening. That is definitely a different experience. From songs that I know that is mixed a bit warm, like let's say Take It by Snarky Puppy. Normally that's just, if I listen to it, that's just going to be like a warm mix. This is still, of course, it's tubes, but that's a really different, like, or sort of emotional experience, if you will. Let's say if we go by just quickly, just one song, just to compare. It's my usual studio DAC amp that I use most of the time. This doesn't appear like it has some sort of crossfeed settings or whatever. Just straight up tube. You have headphone impedance, output selection, input selection, volume, balance. That's it. Doesn't appear that it has some type of crossfeed, but I feel like the music is much wider. I don't know, for some reason that's the effect. I'm going to try it with my studio DAC amp that I use. Oh yeah, wow. Wow, okay. It's just darker here. This, you would expect with a lot of tubes will be a bit darker compared to that. No. Wow. Okay, it comes alive definitely with this. If you're in the market for that, I mean, come on. But, wow, huge difference there. In terms of like space, separation, clarity. It's not as dark as with a Hugo 2 with the same song. That's an experience right there. But it's different. It has soul. It's more musical for some reason. The Hugo 2 compared to the ADI FS2 is more musical already. But this seems just straight up darker to that. This has another level of clarity I didn't expect. Wow. So you're having some time to think and collect my thoughts after that. That amp made my setup sound dark and muddy in comparison. And the Hugo 2 and LCDX combination is no slouch by any stretch. They are both respected in the studio and audiophile community, used for high-level, mixing and mastering, widely used nowadays in the studio, both the Hugo 2 and LCDX. But that Narukami amp opened up all my reference track. Not just brighter, it's cleaner, more open, clear, detailed front and center. It breathes more, stage, a bit wider, better detail retrieval, just stepped it up 1 or 2 notch across the board. And that is on a tube amp. Like how? Let me cut right here because I feel like I need to do some overdubs. Let me talk a bit more about the experience and less of a critical POV where I was actively trying to analyze it and sort of, connect the dots, which I think that was the last thing they was designed for. In that moment, I remember whatever music I play through the Narukami sort of, gets fixed. The conflict is I am used to hearing flaws, especially when listening through headphones. I should be able to tell what's happening in the mix, find things easily. meaning I don't know how to sit, relax, and listen. If it isn't that obvious, this is not that. This was made for you to sit, listen, and enjoy. And it does so brilliantly, of course. It wasn't about technicality or being able to, kind of grab details. It is detailed, of course, but it's more about speaking to your soul and emotional level, which is what I got listening to it. I mean, I don't want to sound pretentious or philosophical. I am not that. I'm just trying to relay what I felt back then. Forgetting the price for a bit, because I know some of you will have a lot to say about it. I'm not trying to justify it either, nor am I trying to sell you one. Because I think the intended market for this don't even need the slightest convincing. So just purely experience-wise, it is immersive. It makes you forget things about the track was warm, the track is too bright, the track was mixed like this or like that, so on and so forth. I don't know what kind of sorcery they put on it, but the Narukami is like, let me take care of all those for you. Just sit and relax. And you'll be like, okay, I'm gonna relax, sit, enjoy my music. The best way I can describe it is sort of an emotional experience. It is engaging, 3D-like, it's immersive. I had a bit of a similar experience with the HE1, but the Narukami lets you use all your headphone collection and enjoy them all. It's not tied to one headphones. Of course, there will be setups that maybe would come close at a way cheaper price point, but the experience here is, of course, way up there. It just refines all the music you know and you listen to and just gets straight to that listening bliss. From what I gather, projects like the Narukami are more like experiments, passion projects that Audio-Technica's engineers take on once in a while just to see how far they can push things. Which I'm glad they can do things like that. That's where boundaries gets pushed. And then hopefully these tech trickles down to consumer products. It's incredibly expensive, yes, but it was more of a statement piece made to show what's possible when every metric limitation is taken away. Okay, sorry, that took a minute, but getting back to the video. Man, do they sound another level. I'm pretty sure this was the best I've ever heard my LCDX sound. I won't bore you with the specs and all that because I'm not even going to try to sound smart by talking about those. I will just put those right up in the description below. This was using the black persimmon wood, if I'm not wrong, and all handmade in Japan. I don't know how many they will build. I think it's a limited run. Before this, I thought I've tried the most expensive headphone system with the Sennheiser HE1, also called the Orpheus 2. That thing starts at 60,000 USD. I didn't even know that Narukami even existed until recently. Will I ever buy one of these? Highly unlikely. But the Narukami is a few bus stops away from me. So, I sort of have one. Not really. But that was a heck of an experience. If you're able to try it via, hi-fi shows or whatnot, try to get your ticket. It's one experience you have to try. So, apologies if this wasn't the video you were expecting. Also, I was only able to try them for a short time. I just wanted to share my experience with what's out there on the other side. I'll definitely come back to the Audio-Technica HQ to try the new flagship, ATX-7000. Watch out for that one. But I think that's going to be it for this video. I'll see you guys in the comments below and in the next project.